We have committed $10 billion to the Bruce Highway. I was in Rockhampton with the Premier a little while ago doing the Rocky Ring Road construction beginning. Just near here, Calliope Crossroads. Promised, funded, commenced, built while I was the Infrastructure Minister. You go further south here, Koroita Curra, talked about by the former local LNP MP was Warren Truss. He happened to be the Transport Minister. He used to stand up in Parliament and say, this is the worst section of the road in Queensland. This is the most dangerous road in Australia. If only there was someone who could do something about it. The bloke was the Transport Minister. It took us coming to government to get that done. Koroita Curra. Now drive along that section of the highway. It's enormous. Mackay Ring Road. I'll be there again soon. Commenced under us construction. Townsville Ring Road. Stages 1, 2, 3, 4. All of the work that was done up and down the Bruce Highway. The Howard government, little fun fact for you, $1.3 billion over 12 years. The Rudd and Gillard government, $7.6 billion over 6 years. We got it going. The Yeppoon floodplain into Rocky. It used to be no one could get into Rocky every time there was a major flooding event. We fixed it. Now, we had 10 years, for example, Rocky Ring Road's a good example. I funded in the 2012 budget the study for the Rockhampton Ring Road. It only commenced this year. What happened in between time? The LNP. That's what happened. We're in government. So we're committed to working between myself and Stephen and Catherine King. The other King sister will be there working away on the Bruce Highway. I understand how important it is, and I was talking earlier today during the pandemic. I had the opportunity as Labor leader. I drove with some of the team who are here now from Barcaldine to Brisbane. I drove from Cairns to Brisbane. And we drove another time from Townsville to Brisbane inland, again via Emerald and Billow and around here as well. I'm very familiar with the Bruce Highway. I'm big in Baroran, which is just south of here, the pub. We ended up there for dinner a few times, highly recommended. So I'm a Prime Minister who's not a Queenslander, but I tell you what, I know about the Bruce Highway. And so does Catherine King, and so does the Premier of Queensland, and we're getting on with it. But the truth is that the former government, federal government, talked and talked and talked. What they didn't do was provide funds and get on with it.
So will the Bruce Highway ever be finished?
I think I just answered the Bruce Highway pretty comprehensively. So, yeah.
Prime Minister, the LNP says Queensland can't be reliant on solar fields and wind towers. Rather, we need baseline energy, and that's what the state and federal government needs to focus on. What's your response to that?
Well, the Queensland LNP, is that right?
The federal LNP.
Yeah, well, and they're friends in the state parliament. If ever they have any real influence, we know that they will listen to their masters in Peter Dutton in particular. This facility here is 100% renewable energy powered. This one here. The expanded facility will be 100% renewable energy powered. Rio Tinto have just signed the biggest deal that has ever been signed by any entity in Australia to receive renewable energy. We know that in order to advance, Queensland's in a good position with hydro, with wind, with solar. I've been, whether it's here in this part, whether you look at the work that's being done with Copper String in the north to connect Mount Isa to Townsville, with the Kidston projects and Big Kennedy and Little Kennedy wind power projects. This is what is going to power Queensland. This is where the investment will be. You might recall in the previous government, there was a lot of talk about coal-fired power stations. Not one of them opened in the 10 years that they were in office. Not one. And they funded the proponents of Collinsville, gave money to the people who were the proponents for something that had no chance, a snowflake's chance in hell of going forward. But taxpayers' money used, a con on the people of that community, saying that it would be viable. The truth is it doesn't stack up. It doesn't stack up, which is why it didn't occur. But we know that their agenda is to put off the work that's needed on solar and wind and renewables for this nuclear reactor plan. These people are nuclear reactionaries, have taken control of the Queensland LNP. And what they want is a nuclear reactor in places like here, Gladstone. Where are you going to put it? On Curtis Island? Where are you going to put it? Up and down the coast, wherever there's water is where a nuclear reactor has to be. You need water, needs to be near populations as well. They have said that. So we will say as well that the Queensland LNP have to say who's funding this? Who's funding this? Because it won't be loans to the private sector. It will have to be funded by government because it simply doesn't stack up, which is why no private sector enterprise is putting their hand up for this. They used to say they'd have small modular reactors until someone pointed out they don't actually exist anywhere in the Western world. Then they now talk about large nuclear reactors, but I will be arguing between now and the next election and beyond against their plan. We have a real plan that stacks up, that's serious people in energy. We've just been here in Gladstone with Origin and with other companies as well that we work with in the energy sector. But I'm sure Stephen will want to add something as well.
Sure. Sounds a bit similar though. The future for Queensland is leveraging our incredible renewable energy resources with our transmission infrastructure and our highly skilled workforce to be creating the products that the world needs going into the future. The answer is not to embrace nuclear power. We need stored renewables, reliable stored renewables to deliver certainty of renewable energy 24/7 to households and to industry. When we have investors come to see us, they want to leverage off those renewable energy resources so that the products that they then sell to the world can have a lower carbon footprint. None of them are coming here demanding that we build nuclear reactors to deliver them nuclear power. That isn't what these investors are looking for. It isn't what will attract and create jobs here. And what we know is that nuclear power would be at least 5 to 6 times more expensive. So think about your household power bill. Think about the power bills of big energy intensive industries in places like here in Gladstone, you know, the smelters, the LNG processing. Think about what them having to pay more than 5 times as much for their energy would be like. So there is a really stark and clear choice here between Labor governments at a Queensland and Australian government level who are embracing the opportunities of stored renewables to create jobs, and the ideology of the LNP at a state and federal level demanding we ignore those opportunities and instead spend tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars more to build nuclear reactors all over the state.
Premier, sorry, I must ask you a
Sure.
question.
Yeah,
Right
go.
first. What about the announcement?
There's not another mile.
My sister could say
What about the announcement today? Was so important for you and Minister Butcher to leave Parliament on Sunday?
Well, this is an incredibly important announcement for our state. And my number one job as the Premier is to make sure that we are attracting the industries of the future so that we can secure our existing jobs and create new ones. And this announcement is a fantastic example of exactly how we're doing that, how we're taking our renewable energy and our critical minerals, and we are not just exporting them, but processing them here to add value and to create more jobs. And I will proudly work to do that each and every single day, and I would be very surprised at the LNP if the LNP were criticising me for doing that. Of course, the Parliament is important. I was there this morning for ministerial statements and question time. I'll be there before the House rises today, before the House adjourns today, for a welcome function for all of the new mayors from across the state. But Gladstone is a really important part of our state. Creating jobs is a really important goal of mine, and I will always prioritise those things.